Yo, what's up guys? My name's Chris Blair and welcome to the 13 Tech channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how I make midis, turn them into loops, and then I'm going to turn that loop into a full beat for you guys. But before we get into that, make sure you like and subscribe. Check out 13 Tech on Instagram and Twitter, and check out our new website. We got a bunch of free kits on there, as well as every drum sound you're going to hear me use today is going to be from one of the kits on that website. So make sure to check it out. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so before I get started, I just wanted to say that everything I'm about to show you isn't necessarily a rule that you have to follow, but rather a set of guidelines to help you think about making midis in a different way, instead of just trying to like plug and place and just guess and check over and over until you get something good. This way you can actually have like some sort of formula. So how I start before I even get a sound picked, I just go into the piano roll here on a sampler, and I use the scale highlighting tool here, and I pick what key I'm going to go in here. And now I usually stick with major and minor, and the only difference between a major and a minor, as you can see, a C sharp starts here. This is the first key of the scale, and then it skips one, and then it has two next to each other, skips one, and then has the last one that skips one again. In a minor scale, a C sharp minor, Aeolian minor is actually just the standard minor. So if you ever want to just do a normal minor, pick this one. And a minor scale has the two right next to each other, skips one, two right next to each other, skips one, and that's going to be a minor scale. Main difference between all that stuff there is the first note, or the root note, will be a major chord if you build a chord off of it in a major scale, and a minor chord, which the only difference is this note right here. So to start this one off, I think I'm going to go with E minor, and the main reason I like E minor is that usually the notes I pick are pretty good for the 808s too, because it stays pretty low and close to the sample. The next step, now that we have our key picked, is we got to pick a sound. FL keys works just perfect for this, honestly, but not everyone likes the sound of FL keys, so I'm gonna pick, actually I'm gonna start with FL keys here just to show you how to do that, because I usually do FL keys and then pick a different sound for the loop. So let's start off with the MIDI and build a minor chord. And how I did that is I just skipped every other note inside of this scale, and that you can pretty much do any chord with that, and those will all be chords, triads right there. So we'll start with the first chord. And what I'm going to do is, this is called a inversion, and you just bring this one up. So you can either drag it up or control up by selecting. And if you want to select something faster when you're in your pencil, hold control, and then you can select and then do control up, so you don't even have to go up here. And before I inverted it, it sounded like this. I'm actually going to extend it so you can hear it. Here's what the chords sound like at first, and here's what the chord sounds like inverted. So that'll be the first chord we have here, and now we got to make a progression. So I'm going to start off by doing a consistent trick, which is if you go 4 or 5 notes below the root note, that usually sounds pretty good. So I'm going to go 4 down to C, and I'm going to build a chord here, and I'm going to invert the middle note up to the top, and here's what that would sound like. So next I'm going to pick my next chord. And so I'm actually going to go with the actual top note of this chord, since the middle one's the one that's up here. So I'm going to go with the top note of this second chord. I'm going to build a chord out of that. And I'm also going to invert the middle. So we got this now. And since we're doing a minor, I mean, we'll just do a 4-chord one anyways. If you want to, you can do 3 chords and just have this same chord repeat again, and that would sound pretty cool, but I'm going to do a chord in between. So those are the root notes. I want to do this B here, and it's the middle note of this chord, and it's also the top note of this chord. So there's a lot of notes that are similar between all these chords, and that's why they sound really good together. So I'm going to build a chord out of this and move this up. And here's what we got now. Sweet, and I'm gonna add a little bit of movement to it so it's not just on the beat exactly. I like to do this a lot, just cut a little bit out of this first one, move it over, and then just Alt L to extend everything. Sweet, so that's some cool movement there. And now to add a little bit more movement in the chords too, I'm gonna add some notes in between them. You can also, if you want to, like shift these notes over and stuff, but I'm gonna leave the main chords untouched and I'm gonna add some other notes. Sweet, so those are gonna be the movement notes. And now what I would do at this point is Control A to select them all, and then Alt R to randomize the velocities. You don't want to do it too much, but you want to randomize it a little bit so it sounds kind of organic. And then you're gonna do Alt S for the strumizer with the strength and the time. You want to just do a tiny bit of it, kind of play with it until you find the strum that you like. Because when people really play the piano, unless they're an absolute god, they're not going to play everything at the perfect time. So if you kind of make it not perfect, it'll sound a little more organic. Now what I'm gonna do in this first 4 bars is I'm gonna add a top line melody kind of like in between this space here, and I'm just gonna kind of think of what I hear in my head. You can also try humming something out while you're going, while it's looping, until you get an idea. But usually when I hear something like this, I already have something I hear in my head. And something like that is what I had in my head right here. I don't know the exact like pattern I want to put it in, but I know these are the notes, and it just takes some practice to figure out like what note you're thinking or what note you're singing is the one on there. But just do it every day, and you'll get a little bit better at it. So let's try to figure out this melody. Something like that is what I was thinking. So I'm just gonna Alt L between those, and I'm gonna take this same one, I'm gonna copy it over here. And with these top line melodies, what I like to do is keep the same pattern, but switch the notes up. That way it has like the same groove, but the notes are a little bit different. And now I'm gonna add another top line melody that I kind of hear over here. I think just those 2 notes is all I wanted to add, just some of the hits when the chords to add a little bit of an accent to it. And now what I would do is I would just take these bass notes of or the root notes and copy them down, make sure they're on time. Sweet, so now we have a 4-bar loop, but that's gonna get boring if it repeats over and over. So what I'm gonna do is copy everything by selecting up here, or you can do Control A and then Control B. If you do Control A though, when you have something else that's longer though, it won't work, so I have to do this. And for the second half, I think I'm gonna change these notes up. I think I'm actually just gonna add some notes on top of that. And I'm going to change the last part, so the last 2 notes, or the last note is the one right above the root note, so it kind of like leads into this. And now I kind of want to move these over to here. Alright, so here's the completed MIDI. I'm going to play this all the way through now. So now I'm just going to bounce that MIDI. In order to do that, you just go up to this options right here, File, Export as MIDI file, and just name it. I usually like to do the MIDI name, my name or my handle, and then with midis you just got to do the key, and that's how I would name a midi. I'm just gonna save that. So now we have that midi here. So now let's make a loop out of that. So the most important thing for making a loop is definitely going to be sound selection, and the best way to get good at that is just to have sessions whenever you get a new sound or a new plugin and go through and try to figure out how to use them or find ones you like. Serum's what I'm going to use today probably. Purity's another one I use a lot. With those sounds, you can right click and change the colors in order to mark them. Another plugin I use a lot is Electra X. With those sounds, you can mark them with these stars here. And so I went through and some of the ones that I liked, I kind of like tiered them up and marked them. But let's start off with Serum and Electra X. Actually, I'm probably gonna use all three of those plugins that I pulled up. So let's try to find a nice piano here in Purity. That can be the kind of foundation of this. I'm gonna try to find like a electronic sounding piano though, since I'm gonna use a lot of other electronic and future based kind of sounds from Serum. I'm gonna go with the Tiny EP2. And with the piano, it's okay to leave like the root notes in, but I'm gonna copy this and throw it over in Serum. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the top lines we added, not the movement notes though that I added. I'm gonna leave those, and then I am gonna take away the bass. Alright, so I'm gonna try to find a sound for this. And as far as like all your other plugins and stuff, if you want to have go-to stuff, if like a plugin doesn't allow you to favorite stuff, you can always just go straight up to the folder, which is usually going to be in your documents, or maybe it's going to be in your program files, but it's going to be under whatever the preset the thing is, and go to the presets folder. And you can always, if you want to, you can go and take some sort of a preset or something from anything you like, and you can go and put it in your own folder to get it to it quicker, because the bottom line, like a preset is going to usually have someone's name in the metadata, or even for like a one shot or something, or a drum. Let's say if you pick a drum here and you open it in Edison, I mean obviously it's gonna have their name on this drum sample already, but even if you pull it up in Edison, it's gonna have their name in the metadata, so you're never gonna really forget. You might forget what kit you got it from, but you're gonna always remember exactly where to search if you need to go find where you got that sample from. So if you want to make it faster for yourself, take your go-to stuff and put it in a folder so you can get to it faster. So let's pick a Serum sound. Yeah, this one I kind of randomly clicked on. It's kind of gas, so we're gonna use it. But I also want to get like a pluck sound. I'm not really liking this sound anymore. I'm gonna go pick like a chord sound. I think I'm gonna undo the arpeggiator I did and put these chords back in and just do my own manual kind of strumming. I like that. It's kind of like an outer spacey kind of vibe. And then I'm actually gonna even copy that same pattern into an arp here. Alright, with that arp I just added, I'm actually gonna add some halftime on it. Alright, and now that I got all those different layers I can use for the core melody there, essentially for different parts, I'm gonna add one more actually, because I like to use a lot of like saw synths and stuff. But with this one I'm not gonna do full chords. I'm gonna just do like the fifths. And I'm gonna stop them whenever the clap's gonna hit eventually. Like, I'm not making a loop right now, but I know claps usually hit on the 3 and the 7. So now I'm gonna layer that sound with another kind of saw wave, or another, I think I'm gonna do this actually, just like basic. I think I'm actually gonna pick a different saw wave than this one. Let's go into here. Alright, and now that we got all the basic layers here, I'm just gonna add some counter melodies to the main Purity part and then to the main Serum part, and we'll be done. Something like that, and I'm gonna modify that. I really think all we need is just like a pad to go behind that piano. We'll be chilling. Cool. And then I'm just gonna take that same purity lead pattern we just made, and now I'm just gonna pick a couple lead sounds and I'm just gonna alternate between them. So paste that in. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take those notes, those for the ones that I didn't delete, I'm gonna leave them on this serum pattern right here, and I'm gonna take another serum and I'm gonna get a second sound, and I'm just gonna do the second half. Just gonna throw those into the mixer, link them to here. Sweet. Now I'm just gonna do some quick mixing of all of these and I will structure out the loop. Now that I all got all the plugins out, or all the sounds I want to mix a little bit, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna throw route them all to one track. I'm gonna throw some OTT on it. Really all this is just a compressor, upwards and downwards compressor. Just kind of glue them all together and add a little bit of depth to glue them all together. So I'm gonna play around with these knobs. And actually I'm gonna go 0 depth and put vintage verb on it for some more depth instead. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bass line from the original MIDI, I'm going to throw it on a sub bass. So now we got that bass line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, split by channel, and I'm going to take everything by shift clicking, dragging it in, shift clicking, dragging it in. Now that's the bass line, so I like to put it at the bottom just to keep track of it. Now I'm going to structure this. How I want to do it is I want it to start off with kind of like the more organic sounding stuff and then slowly fade into like the rage stuff. So I'm gonna do this intro, kind of have it like fade in with the EQ here, and then have the synths kind of hit halfway through. Sweet. So then basically what I did here, I just had the intro that had the serum chords hit here, had the electric kind of going in through the background here to keep some sort of interesting sound while the chords are here, then just have the melodies come in here. And then right here, just go switch back to the organic sounds and then reintroduce the chords in a little bit and kind of like do a little drop out here. And so once you're done, what you want to do is stem out all of the different parts of your loop by just putting some space in between them for the reverb, just tracking each one individually out. I just like to do 4 bars, and then you just gotta export it and save it. So remember what key it's in, just go back in here. It's an E minor 140. It's an E minor because we did it all within that scale. And so let's save that. It's 140 BPM. I like to put the BPM and then the key. You can even put the progression if you want to, like the root notes, but since I have the MIDI, I'm not gonna do that. And so now I would just bounce that. So now we got that. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna open up a new project. I'm gonna pull in that loop we just made. Cool. So now we got all the stems structured out like this. Just using the normal loop and then using the stems to really make a second drop. That's about it. And now we can make a full beat out of this. So let's get into that. Let's tap into the Omega K here. Alright, nothing too crazy, and now I'm gonna actually pull back in that MIDI because I've already forgot the root notes. And now I'm gonna do the 808 and the kick and then the open hat after that. In order to change a sample like that on the fly, all you gotta do is just middle click your mouse right here. I'm gonna go into Gage's 808s real quick, see what he's got. And I think she's done. Just to finish it off, now that the structuring is done, I'm gonna go to the loudest part of it and add a soft clipper to my master. Sweet, and that's how you turn a MIDI into a full beat, MIDI to a loop into a full beat, actually. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and comment down below what you want to see next from us, and I'll talk to you guys later. Chris out.